Hello and welcome to episode 2 of series 1 of Master League Story Mode. We're back. They said it wouldn't happen. No, I don't think anyone said it wouldn't happen, but we are back. It's episode 2. And most importantly, you're back. Well, I say you're back. I'm hoping you've already watched episode 1. If you've not, you should probably go and catch up. It's just one episode. It's like 10 minutes. And you'll get to see where we are and some of my sort of preamble about what Master League Story Mode actually is, and the big reveal that we are going to be managing this season as none other than Tim Sherwood, who has gone back to black, but back to black? Back to black, I like that. Anyway, back to Blackburn Rovers in the Championship, taking over from the recently sacked Gary Bowyer to lead them to promotion this season. Now, as I mentioned at the end of the episode, what we're going to be doing in episode 2 is taking a look at the team and some of the tactics and the formations and the players that we've got and how Tim is going to be managing. So let's get straight into it. No point in messing around, straight into the game plan. Okay, so with the whole Master League Story Mode idea, as I've explained in the first episode, the big thing is getting inside the head of the manager and trying to make sure we play Master League as they would in real life. Does that make sense? Maybe. I think it'll become clearer as we go. So the first thing, and probably the most important thing, are the tactics and the formations that they'd likely play. Now, for example, in the past, I've played Master League Story Modes through with Arsene Wenger. One of them was Arsene Wenger going to PSG. Bit controversial, but it was an interesting one. It's quite easy with Arsene Wenger because you have decades of Wenger as a manager to observe and to take notes from and to implement into your story mode. With Tim Sherwood, we don't quite have that. I think we have probably combined just under one season's worth of management, maybe around a season. So that, first of all, makes highlighting and focusing on his tactics and formations pretty tricky. Second of all, we have the whole Tactics Tim problem. Now, you may have heard me refer to him as Tactics Tim already. And the reason for that nickname, unfortunately for him, maybe, and for us, is that he's not exactly a master tactician. He hasn't got that nickname because he's good at tactics. He's got that nickname, as far as I'm aware, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, please do in the comments, because he came out fairly early in his time, I think, at Tottenham, and he said something to the effect of, I'm not really that into tactics, they don't really bother me, I like to let my players express themselves on the pitch and be themselves and do their own thing. So he said that. He's been ridiculed for it. So again, that makes it a little bit difficult to maybe pinpoint his tactics, but we're going to give it a go. I think the main thing that Tim Sherwood has brought into both of his managerial roles is real passion and enthusiasm. You know, he inspires the players to work hard, to close down, to be dynamic. And this really mirrors how he played the game as a player.
And now Beckham has been tumbled. And oh dear, Sherwood lashed out at Beckham. Gary Neville has become involved. And this is very unsavoury.
But first of all, let's rewind back to his time at Tottenham, where he took over the managerial role from Andre Villas-Boas. He used to be the youth team manager, and he came in as a sort of interim manager. Eventually, he got the full role for a bit. So what he brought into the team after AVB, who was quite strict, is that he let the players express themselves. And actually, during his time there, that was pretty successful. As he said in the montage from episode 1, he did have a great win rate. It was, as he said, second to none. He also was able to motivate players like Adebayor, who hadn't been playing that well, and he brought through a lot of youth as well from his experience in the youth team. He brought through players like Bentaleb and Kane, got them playing really well. But as I've mentioned, it seems to me that Sherwood is more of a coach than a manager, or so far that's what he's proved. He's more of an inspiring, leader of men. But anyway, that's fine. In terms of formations at Tottenham, he generally played a 4-4-2, and he was ridiculed for that, for not being very flexible. But I don't think we're going to play a 4-4-2, so let's move on to his time at Aston Villa. Now, he started to experiment with formations at Villa. That may well have been because of the personnel available to him, but he did try 3-5-2 at one point, as far as I remember. Generally, I think he went for a sort of 4-4-2 diamond or 4-3-3, but with any of these formations he went for at Villa, his real aim was to maximise Christian Benteke, who was by far their best player. So what he wanted to do, and he, as with Adebayor at Tottenham, he really got Benteke firing.
What has Tim Sherwood done to change the confidence of the team?
I think he
he gave us like a lot of confidence, a lot of freedom, and we try to use those things.
And what's changed for you? Because the past week you scored 5 goals, a hat-trick on Tuesday, the winner here today, on fire again.
And he did this by getting support to him, getting wingers either side of him, having an attacking midfielder who was generally Grealish or Delph, backing him up and getting balls through to him, supporting him.
From him, beautifully done that. Grealish, Delph's carried on with the run, here he is. Cut back, Benteke, 1-1! Aston Villa at level! Brilliant team goal!
So I think that's what we're going to try and focus on in this Master League. So I think we're going to go for a 4-3-3. Obviously, we're going to try and instill that high tempo, high work rate that Sherwood really likes to put into his teams. And we're going to focus on maximising our striker. Now, first of all, we are going to just put the formation in place. And then we're going to look at which players we've got to fit into those roles. And then that'll give us an idea of what positions we need to strengthen. So we're going for 2 wingers either side of the striker. Going for an attacking midfielder, so quite an attacking formation really. 2 central midfielders, one of them we may change to a defensive midfielder depending on the personnel available. But that's how we're going to line up primarily this season. In terms of tactics, so when we're in possession, we're going to be going for a counter-attacking, long pass, wide sort of style. So what we're going to want to do, and this will be reflected in our defensive tactics as well, is we're going to want to close down, high tempo, win the ball back and then break quickly in numbers. In terms of positioning, one thing that Villa Sherwood was quite happy to do was allow, especially his front 3, to interchange positions. So we're going to allow flexible positioning, low support range because we're going for a counter-attack style, lots of numbers as I said in attack, so we're going to break quickly with numbers. Out of possession, we want front line pressure. Contain them in the middle because we're playing with wingers, so we're not having the left or right midfielders to really, add to the defence. Aggressive pressuring. We're going to have quite a deep defensive line. We're going to stay fairly compact in defence, and then when we break wide and long, and we're going to many numbers in defence again. So, this is going to be a hard-working team. So we're going to maybe look for players who've got good stamina. I think that's going to be important when we dip into the transfer window. So that is our formation and our team instructions. So that's how you can see there really how I've tried to bring in Sherwood style into that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out and which players fit into which positions. So as I mentioned, we've got the formation in place now. Now we need to see which personnel we can slot into each position. This may seem like a slightly strange way of doing it, but in terms of how we're going to strengthen the team and how we can continue to play as Tim Sherwood, I think it's better to get the formation and the tactics in first, and then have a look at how our existing players slot into that, and where we need to maybe have a look at bringing some players in. So, just to make that a little bit easier, let's quickly do the auto lineup selection by ability, and that should in theory give us the best players for each position. So let's go back now to the lineup, and we'll start from the top with the big man, Jordan Rhodes. Now, the observant amongst you will probably realise or probably know that Jordan Rhodes is no longer a Blackburn Rovers player. He actually moved to Middlesbrough in the January transfer window. But I think we're going to ignore that. We've got a little loophole here. As I mentioned, I think in the first episode, in this Master League story mode scenario, Sherwood is taking over in November, beginning of November. So we do still have Jordan Rhodes, which is lucky because when it comes to Championship strikers in PES, there are few better. Starting from the top here, 79 attacking prowess is vital in PES for me. What he can do really well, when you've got high attacking prowess, you'll find that the centre forward stays on side better, makes more intelligent runs. So that is vital. Okay, that's quite vital. Actually, I'm lying. The most vital thing here is 82 finishing. That is going to be deadly, especially against Championship standard keepers. That's really going to, and again, as I mentioned with Benteke at Aston Villa, Adebayor at Tottenham, we're going to look to maximise Jordan Rhodes in the way that Sherwood did to those two players as well. Again, as well, he's good in the air, he's got a strong shot, and he's strong, and he's got explosive power. He's not quick, but he has explosive power 75, so he's got all the tools to beat the defender, make the run, and score the goals. So, ideal. So, we're not really, I don't think, going to need to bring in a centre forward. Okay, so the right winger, we've got Ben Marshall. He's pretty decent. He's not the best passer, but he's quick enough. He's right-footed, which is what I want on the right, obviously. So he looks pretty decent. 70 overall is good. Got Chris Taylor on the left. Again, not a great passer. And, you know, as I said, we're going to be looking to feed balls into Jordan Rhodes as much as possible. So that might be an area to look at. Also, you may remember in the formation settings, I've set the formations to be flexible. So actually, I would quite like a goal-scoring winger, a prolific winger. So we'll maybe have a look for that in the transfer window. Looks like there aren't particularly any other options. We've got Nathan D'Alfonso, who is an absolute speeding bullet in real life, and yet, he's ridiculously fast, 90 speed, 90 explosive power, but he doesn't really have much else to him, so he might be worth keeping in there. We do have a very big squad by the looks of it. Yeah, it's a huge squad, so we'll probably have to thin that down. But front three, we could probably do with those three. That's not too bad. Attacking midfielder. Now, this looks like a position we may need to strengthen. B. Coiter at 64. It's not really going to cut the mustard there. Do we have any other options? Not really. Danny Guthrie in central midfield. So attacking midfield, definitely somewhere we're probably going to have to strengthen. I think we'll probably give that to our scout to have a look at when we get into transfers, potentially in this episode, maybe in the next one. But into our central midfield pairing, which are going to be pretty vital, especially defensively, as we're playing a very attacking formation. As I said, we may want to switch one of these to a defensive midfielder at some point, depending on who we can bring in. We've got Danny Guthrie here, who's going to be our engine room by the looks of it. Yeah, and he's a great passer. So hopefully he can be the one who, with 64 body balance, 64 ball winning, that's not great, but he's 76 body balance, so he should have the strength to win the ball back in central midfield, and with his 77 lofted pass, release the two wingers or Jordan Rhodes in this sort of counter-attacking style that Tim's going for. Alongside him, Low at 68, he's not great. We've got quite a few central midfielders, but they're all pretty poor. We've got a lot of central midfielders, actually. Evans might be a better option because physically he looks to be quite a lot stronger. So maybe for now we'll bring Evans in, but that's definitely somewhere we want to strengthen. So we've got a central midfielder, an attacking midfielder we want to bring in, potentially a goal-scoring winger, but central midfield and centre forward are fine. And on the back we've got 69 all the way, which is I'm pretty fine with that. Grant Hanley, the captain. Yep, he looks decent. Good ball winner, strong, not very fast, but I think he'll probably do the job. Fighting spirit as well, we like that. Henley, the right back, is quick enough. Spur, maybe if we're going to go for a defensive signing, it would be the left back, I think. Tommy Spur not looking great. Duffy, strong as well. Tall, 193 centimetres, that's great. And then Jason Steele in goal, 70 for a championship keeper. That is plenty. So, yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. And I think we can probably leave it there. So, congratulations if you've made it all the way to the end of this episode with me talking purely about formations and tactics and Tim Sherwood's managerial styles. Not necessarily the most interesting, but it's the context that we need for this story mode. So, thank you for bearing with me. In the next episode, episode 3, we're going to be looking at which players we're going to bring in, which players we're going to ship out, which bits of dead wood we're going to be cutting. And if we've got time, again, we're going to maybe start game number 1. Exciting. So, yeah, that's all we've got time for. So, again, if you enjoyed what you've listened to so far, or what you've seen, then please subscribe. Episodes up every Friday and Monday. We've got an Instagram with memes and fun stuff, and a Twitter account to keep you all up to date. So follow me on there, and I will see you in a bit.